Tracy, tell me about a client whose life you changed this year.
So the last listing I closed in Fair Oaks, I have a small group that my husband and I lead, and so the niece was in the small group. So it was actually the aunt that I sold the house for. She lost her husband a couple years ago, and the house was too big for her. They found a new build, and they put a deposit on it, and they were scrambling to find someone to sell the house. So within 5 days, we got all the inspections done, listed it. Anna knows, she did the open houses for me, and we had like 5 offers and sold it in 4 days, closed in 30 days.
Awesome.
So that made a big difference in her life to get rid of that house so quickly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anna, tell me somebody whose life you changed. It doesn't have to be a client. It could be anything you want.
Hey, that's not fair.
Yeah, to be fair, I'll tell the story about with my clients. So those are people that came to US a couple of decades ago, and their dream was home ownership. So they built their way to work hard, save money to buy a property. And they did it successfully with me in the beginning of this year. We bought a property for them, found nice deal. We negotiated like 20K less than it was priced. And yes, they were happy. We closed, everything was smooth. Lender was great. Everybody was just perfect. So yeah, awesome. Everyone left happy.
The perfect realtor, and they had the perfect realtor. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Rachel, tell me about somebody's life you changed.
One family that sticks out to me is it was a referral to a woman who was renting. It was a multi-generational situation. So she had her parents living with her, and then her husband and her children, and they were renting, and they were feeling the pressure of having the rent raised each year. And so what happened was I sat down and I began coaching her and really teaching her how to take control of her money and make her money work for her. And I gave her the tools that she needed so that she could make a goal and a plan to get to her goal to purchase her home. And so long story short, we were able to get her budget where she needed it to be. We were able to get her pre-approved and into her first home. And then I guess the icing on the cake is that when we got the house appraised, it appraised for higher than what we were in contract at. And so always when you go into a situation and you have equity already built into the house before it closes, is always a win-win. So I'd say that was a success story for me.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Each one of you have a story of someone's life you changed, and each of those is incredible. I want to bring somebody on the call now. And Chris, I want you to tell us about somebody's life that's in your organization that has changed. And Chris is a friend of ours. He's built a great organization. He's been doing real estate for many years. Chris, jump on there. That's the question of the moment. But introduce yourself before you answer the question. Then let's talk about somebody in your organization whose life you changed and how that was changed.
All right. Hi, nice to meet you guys. Sorry I was late. Always on the phone. So Chris Okamura here. I am in Roseville. I've been in the Sacramento area for 32 years, industry for 22 years, a string of things, running my own company, mortgage, real estate, Keller Williams team leader, Intero franchise, now EXP, right? Loving it. 7 years. Came on with Brent back in 16. We've had more fun, I think, in the last 7 years than we've had in the 2 decades in this business. Yes, we managed to build an amazing organization all over the country today at this point. I'd say my life has been changed. First off, I'll start with that. My life's been changed by the people I've been connected with here at EXP on all levels. But as far as having an impact, I could say specifically, I've made a lot of impact on, like, for instance, I have an amazing, I call her my unicorn in Hawaii, Shireen Duncan. I've known her literally the time I've been here. I've changed her life like immensely, and she'll tell you that. But I feel like ultimately we've changed each other's lives. Both of us have, and it's been like continuously progressively getting better every year. It's been so exciting. And I'm just, when you talk about changing someone's life, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different levels of changing somebody's life, or mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. And I'd say on every one of those plateaus, we've done that for us across the board with my organization. And just the amount of people that we've been able to become friends with now, that I have now all over the country, never in a million years would I have that ever environment unless I came to EXP, which is exciting, why I love it here. Just create the relationships and the connections of people that I've now become a part of. And at some point, I feel like in life, we always make these impacts and changes that we don't even consciously know. And then later on in life, months later, weeks later, maybe even years later, somebody reach out and let you know, hey, you remember when you did that thing? It changed my life. And I'm like, wow, I don't even remember that. Like, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but the fact that I did that, awesome. But so I want maybe to reiterate this, that whatever you're doing on a daily basis, no matter what you're doing, somebody's watching you always people are watching you. So it's kind of this thing where you just be your true authentic self. If you're that person that comes from servitude and contribution, and you really truly want to help others become the best version of themselves, in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have an impact and change somebody's life. And in your life, we change too. And that's where I'm at. Like, my life is equally changed in that environment. So that's it. That's my story.
So that's an amazing story. I want to dive deeper into a couple of parts of that. So
Yeah.
how big is your organization at this time?
About 600 agents.
Wow.
600 agents?
600 agents, 36 states, 4 countries.
Wow.
You seem like you might know those numbers pretty well. Do you pay attention to those numbers?
I do. Like anything else, tracking, measuring, right? If you're not tracking your business and measuring it, it's pretty much worthless. So
did it all come at once, or how long did it take you to get some traction?
Well, initially, it did kind of ignite rather quickly in the beginning, again, based off of the people you connect with, right?
Right.
Fortunately, like I mentioned, Shireen, my unicorn, just happenstance. The story of us even connecting is like, I had a better chance of honestly winning the lottery than meeting Shireen, and how it's kind of put me where I am today. But she was my general. She was my Brent Gove. For those who know Brent Gove, you know, Sheila Fergeron was Brent Gove was Sheila Fergeron's amazing person that helped Sheila where she's a, and Shireen is my Brent Gove.
Right.
And one of them. And so, you know, it's just, you get the chance to meet somebody, you have no idea what they know or who they know or how they're connected. You just don't know, which is why another rule of thumb is that you should never, ever judge a book by its cover, right? You have conversations, relationships with people every day. And I always had this theory that doesn't sound really good, but it's true. Every dud knows a stud. And that's how life works. So even when you come across people that you don't think are uniquely like amazing, you don't know who they know, and who they know, right? It's just how this relationship business works. So to answer your question, when I first got to EXP, honestly, the truth being told, I didn't even start recruiting. It was like 8 or 9 months that I got into here. I was actually just selling real estate, which is completely ironic that I went that direction. And, until Brent kind of shook me up a little bit and says, come on, this is what you're here for. So it was like almost the latter part of that fourth quarter into 2016 or 17 that I really started to really focus on recruiting again, which is where I came from. And I really just got focused on it and just found the right people. Again, like I said, that's a long story how I got Shireen, but it just did. For whatever reason, right? You just got to have faith in whatever's going on. But just, I think the key is just being consistent at doing your job every day, which is making the relationships, making the connections, building those roots and nurturing those relationships. The same way you do in your real estate business, right? For every buyer and seller you're looking to connect with, you have to build that relationship, nurture it, and they're a total stranger. These people in your business they understand your same pains, challenges, issues that you're going through. They're very same across the board. So it's almost like you have something in common with them. It's a warm lead. It's not even a cold lead. These are people that you know, I can trust in this industry, right? And you should want to do something to help them, right? And that's one of the things I love about EXP is that for years, I spent my energy on helping total strangers win by getting home ownership. And I changed their lives dramatically, but I was never able to change the people that I used to be great friends with in this industry like I did till I came to EXP. So that's how you got to look at it, as if that makes sense. So I hope that answers your question, Barry.
Chris, I have a question.
Yes.
So you have people under your umbrella out of the country. How did that come about, and how did that networking come into play?
So as people start to build relationships with other people, it's either uniquely designed because they actually had a place in that area, in that sector before, or they knew somebody who knew somebody there in that area. So like Australia was because somebody knew somebody from my team in Hawaii that knew them there, and they started building some out there. Colombia, same way. Somebody made a connection out that way. South Africa was that way because one of the girls on my team actually lives here in the Central Coast, and Paso Robles was born and raised in South Africa. Her mom was the #1 broker in the specific Providence in the southern part of South Africa. And she was like the #1 agent. So, but she'd passed away. And everybody, though, in the entire community knew her and respected her mom. So she went back out there and started talking to everybody. And they knew the daughter of the mom. Obviously, it was a great segue. It was a connection that they had that nobody else would ever had. And so those warm relationships that she went out there and started talking to the people, it's how we developed that, and it grew into what it is. So it's that. It's like, and that's the power I think that people start or don't realize with EXP. Traditionally, when I ran Keller Williams, I was the only guy recruiting for Keller Williams for 3.5 years. That was my job. My sole job was to recruit. And it's challenging on your own. It really is. Like, I had a challenge to keep that going every month for years. Whereas now, it's not just me, it's my entire organization that has the same opportunity that I get to have. And you get them excited and built up around that. And they want to go talk to their friends. They start really thinking about, ooh, who do I really know? Wow, I really know it. I know this person, right? And that's what it changes the dynamic of the way they think, act, behave, and show up. That's how ownership always works. When you have skin in the game, a foot in the door, and leg on the table, you will show up and behave differently than you ever done before, and everybody else will too. It changes the game. It always does, right? So that's where this is why it's unique with EXP. Now it's like this unified community of people that start looking on the outreach of people they know. Like, who do I know? Who could I go talk to? Whose life could I go change? And that's how it worked. So yeah, it wasn't like I knew people in South Africa or Australia or Colombia or anywhere else. I didn't know those people. I don't. We're actually, I got a guy right now. Funny, he's working on Brazil. And the only reason why he knows Brazil is because he's dated 3 girls in Brazil, and they were all horrible relations. But now he's like, dude, I can go out there. I know people in Brazil. So he knows all these Brazilians, and he's out there, and he's now with his current girlfriend, is like 5th one. And they're like, she's doing all the talking for him in Brazil. And they got meetings showing up, and everybody's showing up to all these lunch learns out there for Brazil. So I probably potentially am going to be in Brazil here any moment now, next, because of that. So my point is saying there's no limitations here. There's no reasons why anybody cannot have business in other countries. It's about tapping into relationships and really tapping into your people.
Hey, Chris, are we in the Philippines yet?
I don't believe we're not there yet. No, but I do have a lot of people ready to go. I mean, I've been ready to go.
Yeah, that's our job, is to open up the Philippines.
Yeah.
All right.
What about Russia?
Ron and John and Clarine, find me somebody that has that could be a strong player there. One of you go get your real estate license. So that's awesome. All right. So, Chris, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Give me some numbers behind either yours or your unicorns rev share. I mean, how does this translate, the 600 people? How does that translate into the dollars that make your life different?
It depends, obviously, on one thing. Just keep this in mind. It's always about your front line. Your front line is about everything is a front line. The actual organization will take care of itself at some point, but you need to really focus on your front line. So depending on where you're at on your FLQAs, obviously unlocks different levels. If you're at your full potential of unlocking all 7 levels currently with 600 people, we've done the math. It's $800 to $1,000 per agent per year. That's kind of how they've equated it out. So you can kind of do the math on that. But depending on what tier you're at is going to determine how much you're actually making.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
I love the way that in Brent's organization, when they get the speakers up online, they always put up their numbers back behind them. It's like one of my favorite things. So it gives me a lot of excitement. So what is your rev share right now for last month? I know it was down because this was a funky month for production, and rev share counts on production and the FLQA. What was your rev share last month? 22,000. Okay, and so you did that whether you went to work or not, but you actually go to work every day. You're in here on the phones. I see you all the time. You're running Zoom meetings, talking to your organization. I would definitely say we have a leader that's not on the call today, and she'll get this recording, Marina. Marina definitely has the ability to create that large network, but what she forgets sometimes to do is to support that network. And I see you, what makes yours work and grow like it has is that you have consistently supported your network. And you learned that from Brent. Brent supported his 100%. Network, and you learned it from Brent. You're copying him. Marina, if you're out there, $22,000 challenge. You could definitely do this. 22,000 would support your family a long ways. All of us can grow our support. And that's actually kind of what I'm trying to do here. I really appreciate you coming on and helping me with that. But we're just trying to remind our organization, Tatiana, if you're out there, you're a baller, girl. You can make this happen in South Carolina. And so each one of the people that are out there, Ron Rose, you're out there, you're going to get a copy of this. You're a baller in Tennessee now. You can really grow it out. And they don't even know what hit them. So thank you very much, Chris, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And thanks for really living out the EXP way, which is helping everybody succeed.
I would say one thing last. I would say make sure you're really plugging into. Obviously, Brent is the guy who sets things up, right? And he does even for me today. So he's always creating these events and doing all these things that every month he's doing something here at PCAR. He's using those things for you guys to actually build off of. So use those things. Those are huge. If you are taking these people that are free events at PCAR every month that he's bringing talented speakers to, Bill Pipes is coming in May 25th. If you don't have 10 people showing up to that, then shame on you. That's the truth. Shame on you, because this is a free event that Brent's paying out of his own pocket as a sledgehammer for you to come bring in everybody and line them up for them to be nailed down. The Build Conference in July, 10 through 12. If you're serious about building, you need to go to these events. You go to the big events that help big decisions, right? You come back fired up. It gets you ignited and excited. July 10th to 12th, San Antonio, Texas. You should be at Build 23. These are things that you should be at. If you're a leader, you should be at these events because that's what leaders do, right? If you want to be a part of the pack, then you need to be a part of the pack. So yeah, it's one thing to talk about. And so to be honest and transparent here, for 7 years, I actually should be a lot farther along than I am.
I was going to say something about that, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't
totally.
want to.
No,
I didn't
totally,
want to
because,
crush your dream.
No, not at all. And it's not even. I know that the reality is that I have like the sky's the limit with me. So that doesn't hurt me at all. The other fact that I need to get on the ball.
No, I was joking, Chris. And look at me.
No, totally.
I was with Brent the first day he joined, and I haven't really kicked into high gear.
No, we all, Brent showed up to play the game seriously. We all showed up to kind of grab some popcorn and a hot dog.
Right.
It's kind of how it rolls. We did. We kind of showed up, got some hot dog and a beer in the stands, and we're kind of sitting in the stands. Life gets comfortable and life gets easy, and never, ever, ever, ever get in that place. If you're comfortable, slap yourself in the face and get uncomfortable. Do something that's going to drive you to the most, where it shakes your boots and makes you vomit. You need to be uncomfortable constantly if you want to grow. If you're comfortable, number one, if you're like, life's good, fix that. When they say if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Bullshit. You better break that shit. Break it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't break it, you will be in that same place. I promise you, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 100%. So that's why, like, now I'm actively taking a real more serious role in it, because Brent's put some fire underneath me and my life has some changes personally. That's time for me to actually stop messing around and get serious. We have a golden ticket.
Tom Dave's moved his office next to mine. Do you know that?
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
you know what that guy does? He calls people and invites them to the event. He's calling people every day, inviting them to come out to those PCAR events. Hey, if it's good enough for the #1 Keller Williams, what was he, #1 in Keller Williams for 7 years or something like that?
Yeah, 7, 8 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, just that. And what does he do? He does exactly what Brent's telling all of us to do, which is get on the phone and invite agents to these events. And hey, follow the leaders, and I'm going to be ramping up my game. I've got to put the hot dog down. I've got to put the popcorn down. I've got to go out and do it. So thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
Awesome, guys. No worries. Appreciate it. Have a good one. All right. Bye.
We're going to have Chris say goodbye. Just wanted to give a shout out to you guys. What are you guys willing to commit to? Do you think that you could talk to 2 agents this week? 2 agents this week about coming to the next event with Bill Pipes? And I would say this week, I mean the coming week. So between now and the next time we do this event, that's 4 agents. Between now and the next time we do this event, could you talk to 4 people about coming to Bill Pipes? Yes?
Yes, I can.
You
I
can.
will.
You
Yeah,
can. You
I'm
will.
doing
Well,
that.
yeah, let me rephrase that. I know you can.
I will.
Can
I
is
will.
not the problem. You can do 4 people in a day, right? But will you? Tracy, will you?
Yes, I will.
Yes. Anna, will you?
I will.
I don't know.
That's the
That didn't
excitement.
sound
Put the
convincing.
popcorn down. Okay. Tatiana, I expect you to be able to do this. Tatiana, I'm calling you out. Marina and Tatiana and Rodney Rose, you guys, I'm calling you out. Jump on there and get some people. Hey, John, did you get that clip for me or no?
I have the highlight.
May I ask a quick question while they're preparing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, is EXP in Russia yet?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. I'll know the answer by the end of the day.
Cool.
I'll send it to you. All right, here we go.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me play this one. Actually, this is just the highlights.
All right, the big guy in the red trunks. So this is Foreman when he was young. So the story of Foreman, keep playing it, that's fine. The story of Foreman is that when he was young, he became world champion. And then he got beat and got out of the game for a long time. And he came back 10 years later at 45 years old, completely out of shape, and became world champion a second time. It's an amazing story. If you get a chance to look him up in the early on his first champion, and then look him up at the second time he got a championship. And it's completely, looks like it's a different guy, but it's still that same power hitter. George Foreman actually became a preacher and pastored a church and went back into boxing just because he ran out of, he got scammed out of money by one of his for his financial guy who had been with him for many years, scammed him out of a bunch of money because he invested in stocks that lost money. And so George Foreman, the preacher, put down his pulpit and went out and started boxing again so he could make money. And as you guys know, he also did a little something called the George Foreman Grill. And if you guys remember that grill, that actually made him a lot of money too. In that George Foreman grill, he never would have done that if he hadn't have been broke. So he went out and did this commercial to feed his family and to be able to keep that youth center that he had started. And this is not ancient history. This is like 85, 86. He signed the marketing agreement for the George Foreman grill. And that little grill made him millions of dollars. He actually thought that it was going to be a break even. When he took the check into the bank, he thought it was a break even check, and it actually wound up being millions of dollars. And he continued to make millions. His youth center is still open and doing its thing in the Houston area, I believe. So he's a great story of somebody that got knocked down, somebody that started late in life, somebody that started over. I want you all to understand, just as I tell you this, I tell myself this as well, that even though I'm starting this game later, there's still plenty of room to bring agents into EXP. Chris didn't go into it, but I think the introduction was made by one of his cousins that came into EXP, who was basically, you know, an average low performing agent, and then introduced him to somebody, and that person introduced him to that unicorn. And that unicorn owned a brokerage, and the brokerage came alive, and he came alive right there. That was his unicorn that brought in a lot of people. And then, you know, he's a talented recruiter himself, and obviously somebody that people look up to, and he's been able to grow it out. You don't have to do it like he did it. Your story is going to be completely different. If you ever go to one of these events, you're going to hear everyone's story, and every story is different. Every one of them, every path imaginable now to get to a consistent, steady income. And I can tell you this, it's not from rev share, but even from the crazy mess that is property management, that consistent, steady income is totally different than what you make as an agent. It feels totally different. It comes in totally different, and knowing it's going to be there makes a difference. And so I would encourage all of you to change your own life by changing the lives of others.